Yeah, we'll be hearing from James Ward-Prowse alongside the England manager Gareth Southgate later on today. 2:30, that matchday -1 news conference. Strong suggestion there that James Ward-Prowse is going to start this game against Italy at Molineux tomorrow. But the other big news out there, the players have just run over into the far corner, which is great of them, isn't it? But one in, one out as far as England are concerned. The big news is that Phil Foden is back in that England camp training today, along with a group that's out there right now. You can see him with the yellow bib on. And that's big news because, of course, he was absent for the first two games, having tested positive for COVID when he first signed up for England duty here at St George's Park. Tested positive, had to go away, and Southgate said he was hopeful that he might be back in time if he was symptom-free to be involved in these final two matches against Italy and Hungary in the Nations League, both of them at Molineux. And there he is. He is fit. He's back. What we don't know, of course, is he going to take a full part in the training session? And is he fit enough? Is there any ill effects from that COVID that he's had, which would mean he can't feature or can't play a full 90 minutes? But on the face of it, very good news. We'll get more on that from Southgate a little bit later on. The one who's missing is Kalvin Phillips, the Leeds midfielder, key part of Gareth Southgate's Euros, of course, and I think he would have wanted to play him in this game against Italy. Him and Declan Rice are the first choice holding midfield players that Southgate always goes with against the bigger and better teams, which you'd have to say Italy are, but no Kalvin Phillips out there. He came off against Germany with a dead leg and isn't training, so you have to assume he won't be involved at Molineux tomorrow. So Foden back, Phillips out, the rest of the squad all present and correct.
Yes, so obviously we know of that one change in Ward-Prowse. I mean, there are going to be others, surely. Do you think it'll mean a start for Jack Grealish after his impact as a sub in Munich, Rob?
Do you know what? I think that's what all the England fans are talking about. Jack Grealish made a real impact, didn't he? Came on for the last 18 minutes against Germany. And his direct running, his slick into passing was really, really impressive. And it's become a big debate, isn't it? Is he now England's super sub, or does he start? I mean, he's only started 3 of the last 11 internationals for England. The last game he started was October last year against Hungary. But as I say, he did make a difference when he came on. And when you look at the stats, he exceeded Bukayo Saka, he matched Mason Mount and Jude Bellingham for the number of passes that he made in the final third. And he was only on the pitch for 18 minutes. The rest of them were all on the pitch for 90 minutes. That gives you an idea of the impact he's made. But Southgate did challenge him to say he had to improve his tactical nous if he was going to get a regular starting place for England. And what I think you're talking about there is recoveries, tackles, blocks, working back for the team, which of course is a huge part of Mason Mount's game for Chelsea and for England. And a lot of the work that Mason Mount does for England is not particularly noticed because we think of him as a creative midfield player, don't we? But he works very hard for the team and wins the ball back a lot. That's the role that Southgate expects him to play and wants Grealish to do more of. Will Mason Mount do that role again? Well, he started both of the last 2 games. 2 games in 4 days for him and some of these other England players. You'd have to guess that Mason Mount is probably going to be given a bit of a rest. So that does potentially open the door for Jack Grealish. And as I say, a lot of England fans are clamouring for that.
2 players with a fantastic season in Serie A, Robert, have yet to feature in the 2 Nations League matches so far. Gareth Southgate says he wants to learn about some of his players in particular, so that must include Fikayo Tomori and Tammy Abraham, surely.
You'd think so. And let's talk about Tomori first, because both he and Mark Gay, the Crystal Palace defender, we think that's Tomori there behind the netting. Yes, it is. There's Tomori behind the netting there, training again. Both Tomori and Gay missed the start of this England training camp because they came into the camp with injuries of their own. But Tomori in particular, I think you have to say, has a really strong chance of starting this game against Italy. You look at the stats of what he's done in Serie A, and of course he's going to be up against opposition he knows very, very well, isn't he? In Italian opposition. AC Milan conceded only 31 goals all season, the joint lowest in the division. And Tomori has been absolutely key for that. We might not have seen too much of it in this country, but Southgate and Steve Holland, his assistant, have. They know the form he's in. He's arguably England's most in-form centre-back right now, and the fact that he's back available could be really, really valuable. And you mention Tammy Tammy Abraham. I think that's a really interesting one. There he is at the back of that group, look, doing the rondo there. And for Tammy Abraham, I think he's got a really strong chance of starting this match as well, which sounds extraordinary when you think Harry Kane's just gone to 50 goals in an England shirt. But Kane has played both matches. Tammy Abraham hasn't had any minutes yet so far, and he is in cracking form as well. 17 goals for Roma in Serie A, the highest scoring Englishman in Italy since Jerry Hitchens in 1962. That's the form he's in. So you have to say that he's absolutely at the top of his game. 29 goals in all competitions for Roma this season. And so the battle for the understudy position in the World Cup squad is very much alive and well. Tammy Abraham will be desperate to start this game against Italy so that he can stake a claim for that, with the likes of Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Patrick Bamford not involved in this squad. Ollie Watkins, of course, the Aston Villa striker as well. None of those involved in this squad. A real opportunity for Tammy Abraham if he gets the chance. And let's end on Harry Kane, shall we? Because we're talking about him and whether it'll be Kane or Tammy Abraham that starts this match. And the England captain has now gone to 50 goals. There he is, look at the middle of that, racing around like he's not played 2 games in 4 days. But you have to suspect there's a bit of tiredness in those legs. Starting and playing both games so far, both away in Hungary and then in Germany, remember. But reaching that milestone of 50 goals is extraordinary. He's now only 3 behind Wayne Rooney in the chase for the all-time leading goal scorers stat. You know that Harry Kane is going to want to play in this game. He's going to want to play in every single game he possibly can to try and beat that record. And ideally, in his words, when we spoke to him last week, beat that record before we get to the World Cup, so that it's not on the agenda as a discussion point when we get to Qatar. I don't think Gareth Southgate will see it like that, and I don't think Antonio Conte will see it like that. 2 games in 4 days, in his late 20s, Harry Kane. I suspect the manager will not let him play 90 minutes, and that's why it might be Tammy Abraham who gets the nod. But listen, we'll get more clues when we speak to the manager. Gareth Southgate speaking to the media live on Sky Sports News at 2:30. The one bit of team news we know is we expect James Ward-Prowse, the Southampton midfielder, to be able to start this game against Italy tomorrow, because he's going to be alongside Southgate in that news conference. There he is, here from James Ward-Prowse and Gareth Southgate, live 2:30 later on.
OK, thank you. We'll be back with you for that.